With modern solar panels, it is often hard to reach the maximum solar input on a number of power stations today. And if you just look at the spec sheet, like I kind of did recently in a review myself, you might think, wow, that's awesome. In fact, in my case, I was looking at a power station with a 1200 watt maximum solar input with a 3000 watt hour battery. And I thought, well, that's fantastic. But some of my viewers pointed out that the 60 volt maximum voltage input of that power station made it really, really hard to get that 1200 watts. Now, that's just one of 6 things that I'm going to share with you today that, frankly, I wish I had known when I bought my very first power station over 5 years ago. So before you go out and spend a whole bunch of money buying a power station, stick with me. Let me go through these 6 things because it's going to help you out, folks. Let's get to it. The first thing is actual usable capacity. Power stations are listed by the amount of capacity they have in watt hours. And any power station is going to tell you the total number of watt hours it has as capacity. And when you look at that, you might think, wow, 3000 watt hours. I can run my 300 watt item for 10 hours. But it's simply not the case. And this is what I call usable capacity. That is the amount of total capacity they tell you they have that you actually get to use, because they're not the same. Now, the basic rule of thumb is the 80% rule. And that is that you can take any power station's capacity, figure out what 80% of that is. So for example, if it's a 1000 watt hour power station, 80% of that is 800 watt hours, and you can be fairly certain that you are going to get that much capacity available for you to use. Now, one of the things I'll tell you, look at reviews. I do a lot of reviews, and I always use my 1500 watt ceramic heaters to test capacity. I do that intentionally because it gives kind of a real world maximum use kind of scenario. Typically, people aren't going to run for sustained periods anything that even uses 1500 watts. Maybe an air conditioner, which generally run around 1000 watts. But 1500 watts is pushing things a little bit further, and I do that on purpose because I can then see how efficient those units are. If you're trying to run, say, some medical equipment, maybe a CPAP, and you've got a unit that the math says can run your CPAP all night long, but it won't, well, that's important to know. You may buy that unit thinking it's got just enough power for you, and actually it doesn't. So it's a good rule of thumb to always figure you're only going to get about 80% of that total capacity, though, to be honest, if you watch my reviews, you'll see that some units are going to give you better than 90%, but a lot of them are just barely over 80%. So use that rule, you won't go wrong. Now, the next thing I want to talk about that you need to really look at when you're looking at power stations is their solar charging. They've got a maximum voltage and a maximum amperage, and we're going to talk more about the voltage today because, frankly, this one can get you. That power station I mentioned earlier, which happened to be a Bluetti Elite 300, though I also have some Dabson power stations that have the exact same limitation of 60 volts, those can make it very, very hard to actually get to the maximum they say they can. For example, in the case of the Bluetti, which says that they can take 1200 watts of solar, well, with a 60 volt maximum, that's harder to do than you think. I currently have 1600 watts of solar panels set up right now on movable stands that I can configure them in a 2 in series, 2 in parallel configuration, or all in parallel, or all in series. And in each of those configurations, I'm going to have different voltages and also amperages. In order to not break above that 60 volt maximum that that unit has, I can only put my panels in parallel. And the reason is that when you put panels in parallel, just like batteries, the voltage stays the same. And these panels put out about 37 volts open voltage and around 34 to 35 when they're actually generating power. So I can't put those in series because if I put 2 in series, I'd have over 60 volts. So I have to put them in parallel. But here's the thing. I'm going to be over the 20 amp rule for that system. And I certainly can't put all 4 of them because now I'm over 30 amps. So that won't work. I can't put them in series because of that voltage limitation. Now, looking at a lot of other panels I have, including their own solar panel, I can't put those in series. But here's the thing. It's also at 9.2 amps. So if I put 2 of them in parallel, the voltage is fine and the amperage is fine, but that's only 700 watts. If I add a third, I'm up over 27 amps, It's not going to work. It just can't draw all that power. So in short, when you're looking at a power station, if it says it can do 1,000 watts, 1,200 watts, 2,000 watts, it needs to have higher maximum voltage input in order for you to actually be able to get that. And an example of that would be the Fossibot 3600 Pro. That one has a 2,000 watt maximum with a maximum voltage of around 140 volts. Well, that's a lot easier to get to. I can put 3 of my solar panels in series and then add a second set of 3 in series. And if I parallel the 2 together, no problem. It's called overpaneling, by the way, but I could get away with it on that unit because it's much easier to configure. Now I have other units like that. For example, my Pecron F3000. It's got 120 volt max. But here's the basic rule of thumb. You want a minimum of 25% capacity in solar input for that unit. So if you have a 4,000 watt hour unit, you need 1,000 watts of solar input at a minimum. And you need to be able to get to that without being so restricted by your maximum voltage and amperage that you simply can't without scrounging panels off Craigslist. All right, the next one is AC charging. And then we'll talk a little bit about combined charging as well. Power stations will always tell you they can charge at a certain rate. But the question is, do they really charge at that rate? I've tested many power stations, and I can tell you that while most of them do seem to charge at the rate they say, I've had some that don't. And when they don't, it begs the question, is this the only thing that they're not quite accurate on? So for example, the Jackery Home Power 3600 Plus, they claimed that it would charge at 1,800 watts. Never saw it do that. The most I ever saw it charge at was 1,700 watts. Now, is that 100 watts a big deal? Well, not really. It's just something that I look at and I think, okay, what else am I missing here? Well, that leads me to combined charging, because on that very same unit, I thought I could combine solar with AC charging. Well, guess what? Never got it to work. Now, I haven't gone back and double checked. Maybe I misread something, but if it won't combine solar and AC charging, well, that's an issue. And I'm pretty sure they said that it would. So again, look for reviews, see who's reviewed the item that you're testing, and see if they've talked about whether or not their claims for AC charging are correct and whether or not they actually do combined charging. And now bringing back that Fossibot 3600 Pro, well, guess what? They say 1,500 watts. It charges at 1,500 watts. It can also take 2,000 watts of solar, and they say it can charge at 3,500 watts. Now, I haven't tested that yet. I do plan on testing it. And I got a feeling they're at least going to be able to give me a heck of a lot of charging. So we're going to find out. Now, the next one is expandability. A lot of units today are advertised as expandable. And for the most part, the ones that say they are, though I will caution you. If you're looking at a power station that says it's expandable, make sure you can buy the batteries. Because I have tested some power stations, one at least by All Powers, maybe 2, that I couldn't actually figure out what battery, if any, you could use to expand it. That's important. So if you're buying a power station that says it is expandable, make sure you can get batteries for it. But there's more that you need to pay attention to, and that is how much solar charging they have. Now you might think, well, what does solar charging have to do with expandability? Well, here's the thing. Earlier I said you need at least 25% of your total capacity to charge up the unit. The EcoFlow Delta 3 that I've tested only has its base solar input, and that's it. No expandability, nothing in their batteries, and it's not 1/4 of the total capacity that it is expandable to. The Jackery Home Power 3600, it's got 1,000 watts of solar input, but it can be expanded to over 12 kilowatt hours. That means it would take 12 hours at peak solar to charge it back up from completely dead, and there's no way to expand it. That doesn't work for me. So I will tell you this, when you're looking at that expandability, make sure you can actually buy the batteries. Make sure they've got enough solar input on the main unit, or the batteries have solar inputs themselves, so that you can actually get your fully expanded unit charged up from 0 within 4 hours. Now the fifth thing is pass-through charging, or a UPS feature, which is uninterrupted power supply. I currently use a Dabson 600L as a UPS today. And I will tell you this, it's awesome to be able to do that with your power stations. Not all power stations will act as a UPS or allow pass-through charging and or usage. So while my Dabsons do that just fine, I actually have another power station called an Egratech, and I took it over to my mom because, well, she could use a power station, right? It would make sure that she could charge her phone and keep some lights going if there's an outage. And I got it all set up, and I went to plug in her lamp so that it would work as a UPS, and gee whiz, that unit doesn't have that function. It simply will not do that. So make sure that you check that it can actually work as an uninterrupted power supply. Now, number 6 is warranty and firmware updates. So the first thing you want to look at is warranty length. It's pretty common to see 2-year warranties for power stations with the possibility to extend them 1 to 3 years if you register them. Some will even go to 7 years, but you also got to find out, will they actually answer your call or email? Now, I've talked about this before, but a lot of these power stations are manufactured overseas and they do not have offices here. So when you try to contact somebody from that organization, it's going to be frustrating because it may take a while before they get back to you, especially if it's over the weekend. Because by the time their weekend starts, we haven't even started ours. And the whole weekend may go by before you hear from them, but frankly, some of them you might be a week before you hear from them. There are certainly some that have offices here in the US that you can call for support. Those are great, and I would encourage you to check online to find out what other people are saying about contacting warranty services for the power station you're looking at buying. The other thing is firmware updates. Now let's face it, every power station I have tested has pretty much run the way it was advertised. There are nuances about them. Some are a little better at doing one thing or another, but I haven't actually had power stations that just outright failed. But the one thing I've noticed is they don't all do firmware updates or do them very regularly or make them very easy to do. And this is important because when I tested the Oupes Mega 2 Pro when it first came out, I was the first one to actually test it with the B2 battery that it's supposed to be able to work with, and it didn't work right. Now, thankfully, Oupes jumped right on it. They were very good at getting it fixed, and they had that issue fixed over the weekend with a new over-the-air firmware update. Now, over-the-air just means using their app, download the firmware update, and then it pushes it to the power station. It does a reset, and away you go. A lot of companies will do that, and it's a very great feature because there may be something that they can update to improve that unit. On the other hand, I have power stations that simply do not do firmware updates at all. So if there is an issue, it's too bad. You've got a unit that you can't update. Now, for a quick bonus, I am going to be testing the claim that, for example, the Fossibot 3600 can charge at 3500 watts if you combine 2000 watts of solar with 1500 watts of AC charging. I will be doing that, and I'm going to try to do that on some other power stations as well because of the issues that I found with the Jackery. So stick around. That video should be coming out sometime in the near future. So there you have it, folks. The 6 things I look at if I was going to buy a power station today. I hope that helped somebody out. If it did, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And thank you to all my members. I really appreciate your support. You guys rock. Y'all have a great day. I'm going to throw another video right over here for you to check out. I got more work to do. The old Jarhead out.